yesterday, my property management company, looking to hire us, and he is going to go ahead and hire us. But he was trying to articulate, his concern about will this property still be, and he kept, a highly intelligent guy. He was articulate, very smart, very well spoken, but he's not an investor. So he's somebody who actually, owns a home, has a disposable income, and has the ability to buy his next property and keep his current property as a rental property. And his instincts are very good as an investor. But I don't think he actually had the, the verbiage, the words to actually put forth his message. He got his message through it pretty clear. But his concern with me was that, hey, is this going to be, is the work that's going to be done to my property, going to be equal to it still being a home? So it was their home. At the end of the day, they still want it to be a home. They don't want poor workmanship being done in the property. As you might see in a rental property, he didn't want tenants damaging the property, so it would turn a home into a rental. Again, I think his instincts were right on point. He might not have been able to point out that what his concern is one of equity. So when you've got a rental property, you're basically talking about cash flow. So the tenants are going to pay you X. Any debt on the property is going to be subtracted from that. The remaining amount is cash flow. The amount of money you're actually getting that's above and beyond any expenses that currently or might come in for the property. But the other two components, don't forget, that we often speak about with owning a rental property would be the huge tax advantages you're getting, and that is very much an important conversation. But relative to what he was actually getting at is the equity. Basically every year that property is going to tend to be worth more. It's actually going to tend to be worth a lot more. So the longer you hold on to that property, the more equity you're going to get. And that's going to be one of your prime accelerators at creating wealth. You can actually call it whatever you want, generational wealth, et cetera, et cetera. It's all of those things. And he just didn't have the words because he's not a real estate investor. He's not reading real estate investing books. He's just a very smart guy who identified a problem. And he's just realizing, hey, I'm handing over this our home to this property management company. At the end of the day, is it still going to be a home? And it's true, right? Because you drive through Philadelphia, and I can drive through Philadelphia, and I can actually pick out all the rental properties. I mean, you can just see them. You're like, that's a home, that's a home, that's a rental property, and they just look horrible, and they just don't have equity. They degrade the neighborhood, which reduces your equity. It just causes, just a whole chain effect. Whereas if a rental property is treated correctly, it's not going to look like a rental property. It's going to look like a home. It's going to be far, far, far more marketable to tenants. You're going to find far higher quality tenant that's going to take far better care of your property and who's going to pay you much, much more in the way of rent to live in a home than they would ever to live in a rental. And of course, the equity. At the end of the day, is the property management company, so if you want to sever your relationship with the property management company, if you decide that you want to sell the property, or say you want to keep your relationship with the property management company, but you want to get the equity out of that property, is an appraiser coming in, is a young couple coming in and seeing this as a viable home, as a valuable, viable home? Or are they coming in and just seeing this as a rental property? And there's going to be a huge difference in evaluations, and it doesn't really take that much, more care, that much better work to keep a home a home. I guess my whole point to this is, I would really always come at my properties from a multi-angle. So you're just not talking about, and it's a weird conversation that you're constantly having. We have reps with Sherwin-Williams that basically give us discounts on our paint, but they give discounts to contractors and solutions such as us based upon, a certain paint grade. And we're always seeking that discount on their best quality paint. They're always approaching us saying, hey, you're a rental property management company. use cheap paint. It's just a rental. Same thing, we'll get contractors that will often just say, oh, well, why are you having this work done? It's just a rental. And that's just a horrible perspective, because just from just a rental perspective, you're going to get less rent in a worse quality tenant. It's going to be vacant longer, and the tenant churn, tenants are going to tend to move out at a much quicker rate. Just from a rental perspective, it makes no sense to treat a rental as a rental. But when you start looking at it also from the perspective of the equity, then it definitely doesn't make sense. So I think this gentleman was right on point. He might not have had the words to formulate it exactly the way I would formulate it, but I would actually have each and every one of you approach your rental properties as if they are homes and maintain them as such. You're just going to see a huge amount more profit, constantly in every way. You're going to see less aggravation, less hassles with bad tenants, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So I'm just a humble Philadelphia property management company owner. I'm just doing my very best to answer your rental property investing questions. And as always, happy rental property investing.